Ah, is this me? I can't tell.
Hey there. So, we're doing a top 5 list in case you can't tell by the title. You know, top 5 bands that we wish were still around in some way, shape, or form. So, let's just go
There's
down.
some rules here.
Yes.
Time out. Some bands on our list are completely not around anymore. Some bands are still somewhat around. They might play a show every now and then, but they're not making music. Some bands have completely different lineups, and we want that original lineup back. That's our rules.
Oh, yeah.
Go!
Me? Okay. My number 5, I have one that goes right up with this exception. I have Rage Against the Machine. You know, they got back together a little while ago, and they play random shows every once in a while. But, and I think it even says this on like their band page, which I looked up right before we did this. They have no intentions of playing live shows as of right now or recording a new studio album. And Rage Against the Machine's awesome. Like, nobody sounds like them, and I need Rage Against the Machine in my life. And so, you know, because Tom Morello's a very unique, great guitarist, and you know, it's just like they've announced like there was a big deal that they got back together, and that got a lot of people excited, and now they're not doing anything with it. So I just, you know, again, I wish they would play shows, maybe even do a new studio album. So Rage Against the Machine.
My number 5 is 70s to 80s Black Flags. I know they're still around with Greg, but it's one of those cases where a punk band that came around in the 70s or 80s has some maybe 1 or 2 original members still in the band, or not even original guy that was just kind of passing through at some point. But 70s, 80s Black Flag was, you know, they define a lot of what punk is to me, of that era of what may not seem now like, you know, punk, but back then it was, you know, it was just different, it was raw. I mean, there aren't bands around like Black Flag now, even though Black Flag technically as sort of a different band is still around. Nothing is like 70s, 80s Black Flag. I mean, you know, Henry Rollins is probably the guy everyone knows, but even like Keith Morris and everything, and Chuck on bass, you know, those were the years. You know, Family Man, it's a great album. They need to, you know, just go back in a time machine. That would be the first thing I use a time machine for, is bring back Black Flag. Like, just for other things, that would be the first thing.
Okay. My number 5. I have this band kind of on here originally as a joke, and then I kind of sat down and thought about it. There's a band I'd like to see, and you kind of still can see an iteration of. My number 5 is Creed. As much as we make fun of Creed and Scott Stapp, it's mainly just we make fun of Scott Stapp because all the other members of the band are in Alter Bridge, and I like Alter Bridge. But it would be kind of cool to see Creed with its original lineup live once. Especially if Scott Stapp is drunk off his ass and just goes on with fucking rage. But Creed did have some really good albums. Human Clay was a great album. Weathered was a great album. And, you know, everybody knows them for, you know, Take Me Higher and...
With Arms Wide Open.
Yeah, With Arms Wide Open. But they had so many other good songs like Bullets, Human Clay,
Rain.
Weathered,
My Sacrifice.
One. They were just a good band, a good gent band that we still will listen to on the reg, but not on the rag.
Creed is honestly something that gets jammed all the time when we hang out.
Yeah.
I'm not lying when I say that.
No joke.
My number 5, I have a band that I don't know if any of you guys have heard of, Dirge Within. They put out 2 albums, but I saw them open for Trivium back in 2009, and was just completely floored by this band. And you know, they're a metalcore band. Their album Force Fed Lies is one of my favorite metalcore albums of all time. Like, that album fucking rips, and it has really, really great musicianship and songwriting, and it's just an energetic, just killer album. And you know, their second album, yeah, There Will Be Blood, really wasn't, it just didn't feel the same. And I really wish this band was still around and still making top-notch music. So number 5 is Dirge Within for me. Number 4, I have a band that is still around, but I wish this certain incarnation of this band still existed, and that is Sepultura. Sepultura, I want what every metal fan wants, and that's the old school 80s and 90s Max Cavalera led Sepultura. They seriously wrote some of the best metal records and some of the best
Chaos AD.
thrash metal. Yeah, Chaos AD, Beneath the Remains, Roots, Arise. So many amazing records that in this band is just, it's a very, when it comes to thrash metal, they're just very iconic, and just, you know, that Brazilian metal scene in general. And you know, they're you know, you listen to Chaos AD, and you know, it just, you just feel the energy and just the anger in this band. I love it. And then they started to you know, put some like cultural elements into their music with like Roots, for example, and they were just an incredible band. And it's a shame that, yeah, they're still making music, it just doesn't feel the same to me anymore. And I know some people dig it, I just can't get behind it anymore. And I just wish old school Sepultura was still around.
My number 4, I have Scorpions. Because I would have, again, it's another band I would have loved to go see live. I really wasn't all that into the Scorpions growing up. And then, you know, hang out with these guys, and I started listening to more of their stuff. And actually recognized a lot of it that I didn't realize was the Scorpions. So that's kind of why I would like to see them still around, just so I can actually put more time into liking the Scorpions and appreciating their music and get a chance to go see them live like this fucker did.
Damn it, you stole my joke. I was going to make fun of you. 'Cause
Yeah, I know. Didn't even invite me. Ashhole. So, yeah, Scorpions my number 4.
My number 4 is the band Thursday. I actually forgot. I just want to slip them in real quick. I forgot to put Sonic Youth on my list. They would be pretty high up. I mean, they were banned for 20 years, and they put out great albums like Goo and Dirty, and just a terrific band. But I just want to slip them in there real quick. Like, they're 4.5.
Goo
they would be,
and Dirty.
yeah, names of albums. But yeah, I can't believe I forgot them. But they would be higher up on my list. But I have my list now. And number 4 is Thursday.
Friday.
No, Thursday.
What about Taking Back Sunday?
They're like a post-hardcore band. You know, just a good jammy, listening, rocky band that really just gets a hold of you. What?
Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, and you know, they have some really great albums. War All the Time is probably, I don't know, I say it's up there with Waiting is probably my, well, no, War All the Time is probably my favorite. I like Waiting though. I mean, they have a ton of good albums. Like the title track of War All the Time, the song War All the Time is a good song. Signals Over the Air. This is I really miss this band, and it sucks that I never got into them before they broke up. Like, it's one of those bands that you find out about them after they've broken up, and you know, you're just sad and everything.
And you're waiting.
Yeah. But I mean, Jeff, Tim, Tom, Tucker, and Steve.
I thought that was the whole name.
No.
Jeff, Tim,
Yeah.
Tom, Tucker.
No, those are like their albums. No, those are the guys in the band. They should come back and start Thursday.
What about, what if they could get started earlier, like Wednesday? I mean,
Okay, the fucking jokes. I knew you guys were gonna be
So many. I'm sorry. There's so many easy jokes you can make with that.
all right.
Alright.
My
What's your number 4?
number 4, I have Pantera. I mean, that's
Oh,
like
Pantera, what's
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Why not something
You mean
else?
Pantera bread?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like, is it like a
Pantera.
panther? Why not lion?
shit.
That's me getting back at it. That's my intent to get back at it.
Well, that was me getting back at you every time you do it in other videos.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm allowed.
No.
That's what I bring. That's
No.
what I bring to these videos.
but I mean, it just sucks. You know, I mean, Dimebag
about
Daryl. You know, his death is, you know, one of the biggest losses of the metal community, and so. I guess my ultimate wish would be to see Pantera with Dimebag, because that's, you know, of course that's going to be Pantera the top of their game. But then, I mean, I'd be, and we made a video about this a while ago, you know, I'd be game to see, you know, Pantera with, like, Zakk Wylde on guitar, and everybody else get together. But Vinnie Paul, you know, he's a bit of a cock, and he won't let it happen.
What about Marty Friedman?
When he doesn't fit, like Zakk Wylde fits.
Yeah.
He fits the bill.
Okay.
And so...
I have no doubt that Marty Friedman could do it, but
He
Zakk
wouldn't
Wylde.
fit
Zakk Wylde
in.
fits.
I don't think
Yeah.
he'd fit in. And so, you know, I mean, and so,
Slash.
because it would just be cool to see the, you know, Pantera songs actually played by, you know, well,
Pantera.
some iteration of Pantera live, you know, like Walk or Cowboys from Hell or
Walk, why not run?
or fucking Hostile or
What did you say?
Mouth for War, and then you know, all kinds of great songs like that. Domination is a great song, and then but yeah, Pantera would be awesome. Number 3, I have Led Zeppelin. You know, Led Zeppelin is probably the greatest rock and roll band to ever exist, and so you know, with the death of John Bonham, that's just, you know, again, he's probably one of the greatest drummers ever, and one of the reasons why the band is so iconic. And it just kind of sucks that after that, this band kind of fell apart. Well, I mean, I guess they fell apart before that, but I guess after that, that kind of really cemented that there would be little to no reunions. Now, there have been, you know, a couple things like Robert Plant and Jimmy Page did like some album with an orchestra a while back, and then they did get together for like a show or two in like 2007. But like, I would like to see, again, in the same vein as like Pantera, like just some iteration of Led Zeppelin live. Like that's like a band that I think should be, that is, or if it isn't, it should be on everybody's like a somehow like bucket wish list of like, I want to see this, but it might not ever happen. So, you know, Led Zeppelin would just be a great band to still have around.
My number 3, I have the band Have Heart. You can kind of guess by the name, I guess. I don't know, it's sort of stereotypical hardcore band name. They were around like early 2000s. They think till 2011, 2012. The Things We Carry and Songs That Scream at the Sun are 2 of the greatest hardcore albums that have ever existed. Hold on here. I thought I had some notes on that. But, yeah, I'm bad at remembering things. But, The Things We Carry is probably one of my favorite, if not solely hardcore albums in general. If I had to make a top 50 list, it would definitely land on there. And that's not to say anything bad about it. It's just I have a lot of favorite albums. So it would definitely crack the top 50, and that's saying something. But you know, not to talk shit like how I did a little bit with Black Flag, how there aren't bands around in that sense anymore that really did what Have Heart did. You know, like yeah, there were hardcore bands in the 90s and stuff, but Have Heart, you know, having that melodic side was a really cool thing, and they were huge, you know, and just having, I know their bands nowadays, they're still around. I mean, Trash Talk, they aren't like melodic, but just that raw feeling of a band that is just, you know, just such a live show band, you know, and I wish they were still around, because I've you know, always heard and read great things about their live shows, and you know, just jamming them and stuff, and Watch Me Rise. I know that's probably like the biggest song, but it's a good song.
Alright, number 3, I have Lynyrd Skynyrd. Now you could say Lynyrd Skynyrd is technically still around because there's still one surviving member of the band, And is he the one that was actually touring with
Yeah, you see, I mean, he's still touring with them.
the whole Bad Company?
Leonard?
Yeah, I mean, he was still touring around with them, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, you could argue they're still around, but I would love to see Leonard Skinner with, you know, the full lineup that was Leonard Skinner at their height, in their prime. You know, songs like Freebird, of course, but, you know, Give Me 3 Steps, Tuesday's Gone, you know.
Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just songs like that. I mean, like that Rebels and Redcoats tour with Leonard Skinner and Bad Company would have been probably a million times more incredible if it was the original lineup of Leonard Skinner with Bad Company. But I kind of grew up listening to Leonard Skinner, so that's kind of why they're on my list. They're a band that I kind of wish was still making music.
And just sort of add on to that really quick, I've never been like the biggest Leonard Skinner fan, but I feel like in terms of appreciation for shows and just for seeing bands live, that whole thing with like, they have like 9 people or like 11,000, there's like 11,000 people in the band, and just like all those people on stage just like jamming and stuff, like I've never really been that into their music and stuff, but just that feeling of like a whole bunch of people on stage just, you know,
making music and having fun and actually enjoying playing music.
Like there's 8.
Even like not being a big, like it would still be that appreciation for what that would be like as a show. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Just watch Slipknot, you idiot.
Leonard Skinner is like the redneck version of Slipknot. And Slipknot's like the,
that's fine.
like the, I don't know.
Number 3, I have one of the greatest fucking dudes of all time in metal, and that's Dio in his solo band. Dio put out
What's
so
the
many...
name of the solo band?
Wow. I just fucking said it, don't you pay attention?
Was it Ronnie?
Great job.
Should have called it Ronnie.
Ronnie James motherfucking Dio. That's what it was called. Yeah. But dude, I mean, he put out so many great albums, and I don't care whether it's him with Black Sabbath or it's just his solo band or it's him with fucking
Heaven and Hell.
Heaven and Hell, yeah. I just wish Ronnie James Dio was still alive and he was still making music. And, you know, I mean, his voice is just iconic when it comes to metal. I mean, you hear Dio and you're just like, fuck yeah. You know, the guy can sing and, you know, he really was an influence on metal in general. And, you know, his music is just some of the best, dude. So I wish Dio was still around. Number 2, I have Death. The band Death. Death, you can argue they're still somewhat around with the Death to All tour. But, you know, I'm talking Death with Chuck Schuldiner Death. Now, Chuck Schuldiner was kind of like the rock of this band, and, you know, he had many different band members and filling in various positions and different lineups for what seemed like almost every album. But the career of Death is one of the greatest careers of any metal band in general. I mean, every album they put out was fucking golden, and each one they were just completely transforming up into my 2 favorite albums from them, which is Symbolic and The Sound of Perseverance, which you listen to, especially The Sound of Perseverance, and you just hear... And you know, once you learn, you know, Chuck Schuldner's not here anymore, and then you listen to that album, it's actually quite haunting, and you know, Voice from a Soul, the instrumental, gets me every single time.
I was going to say, that's probably some of the best guitar work
that
I've
is
ever
my
heard.
That is my favorite instrumental of all time. I mean, it's absolutely breathtaking to listen to, and it's so haunting, and that whole entire record is. And there are other albums such as Human, In Leprosy, In Spiritual Healing. You know, the more traditional death metal records are still really good. And you know, Chuck Schuldiner too, and Death in general, are actually a huge influence on, you know, guitar playing for me, and just riffing and soloing, and this band was like the flawless band, and that Chuck Schuldiner is just a genius, and I really, I can say really for about 40 days in a row, but I would die, so I can't do that. So I really wish Def was still around.
Yeah. Number 2, I have Tyler's number 3. I have Ronnie James Dio. Pretty much for the exact same reasons Tyler gave. I mean, the guy could wail in any song. His vocal range was just absolutely incredible. You know, he died, far too young, because he was only, 55, I think?
He's in his 50s.
Yeah, he was in his 50s, but he still could have done a lot more in music.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not much else I can say that you didn't already say about Dio, so I'm just gonna...
And just to add something quick, just like every time I've watched so many times, like him, whether with Heaven and Hell or Black Sabbath or whatever, playing fucking Heaven and Hell live, it's just like, it's one of the coolest fucking things, especially when you get to the verse and it's just him fucking jamming.
Yeah.
It's the shit.
There's really, there's never going to be another Ronnie James Dio. No. People can try to be Ronnie James Dio, but they will never hit that mark. So, yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2 band I have is there's sort of 3 periods of the Misfits. The 80s with Danzig, the 90s, and then now. I would love the 90s Misfits back, and I can, because I would definitely make the case that they're different styles now. What Jerry Only has done is now he wants to in ways not rip off what they started in the 90s, but that lineup in the 90s with Doyle and Graves and Dr. Chud, that's the drummer's name and the stage name. But they maybe weren't completely ahead of the first bands to ever do anything, but the manner in which they just engineered horror punk, especially in the 90s, bringing that metal influence to it. And at least with Famous Monsters, just hearing Doyle chugging on the guitar, and even Jerry was just going at it on the bass, and just the heaviness of those albums, and American Psycho and Famous Monsters, just the heaviness of those albums, it's just such a great, I guess you can say, I don't know about overall era of punk, but just that Misfits era is some of the catchiest, best songs that have ever been written, and Famous Monsters, one of my favorite albums, and it's just the glory days, and then the 2000s hit, and 9/11, and everything has been shit since then.
Wow.
Alright.
Okay.
So, my number 2...
Well, not everything. I mean, there are some good bands. I'm just being dramatic.
Being dramatic, yeah. You're fucking starting drama.
It's all because George Bush was elected.
Talking shit.
I'll talk shit on Bush anyway.
Take a shocker.
Why would you talk shit on a bush?
Wow.
Maybe he was in my way.
Alright, well, my number 2, I also, kind of like Tyler and Luke, I have Dio, but I specifically picked Heaven and Hell as the incarnation involving Dio, as my choice. Besides the traditional Black Sabbath with Ozzy, Tony Iommi, Geezer, and Bill Ward, I mean, the next best one is Dio, Tony, Geezer, and Vinny Appice. That's the next best lineup. That lineup, the 3 albums as Black Sabbath that they did, Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, and Dehumanizer are some of my personal favorite Black Sabbath albums. And then also their work as Heaven and Hell, with songs, such as, Bible Black is an awesome song. And it's just, I personally like Heaven and Hell / Black Sabbath Dio more than his solo stuff, just because it has a more melodic and darker feel, and it's just like it more stings with Heaven and Hell with Dio's passing, because that was still very much a thing. Like, he was still going around, and like Heaven and Hell just put out an album and they were touring, and it's like, yes, we can still write awesome music. And then he died, and it's tragic, and so I just wish we could have gotten to see more of that incarnation of the band's like progression.
But off that, his wife has done a lot with like charity and all that. With like I guess she started a foundation for him or whatever.
So real quick, how did he die?
Cancer.
No,
Lymph node, like throat cancer of some kind.
I think it was lymph.
So he was like touring and stuff and had cancer.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Iommi he has lung cancer.
They
right?
did, you know.
He did chemo for a while.
Yeah.
I used to like look back at like really old tours that happened, and there was a tour with Heaven and Hell, Judas Priest, and Testament.
Which would have been a hell of a tour.
Fucking awesome tour.
Talk about classics right there. Holy shit. But yeah.
And then, so my number one.
So what's your number one?
I have Lynyrd Skynyrd. Lynyrd Skynyrd is easily probably my favorite band ever. This is one of the first bands that I really liked growing up. It's the first band that my dad introduced to me a long time ago. He's a diehard.
Have you actually met them?
No, I haven't met them, but you know, because it's, and again, kind of like what Luke said, there's only one surviving member left with the passing of Billy Powell, the keyboardist.
What's his name?
That's Billy Powell. That's he now. Gary Rosington is the only surviving member of Lynyrd Skynyrd left after the plane crash in the 70s. So I mean, it'd just be the original lineup of Lynyrd Skynyrd would be awesome to see, because honestly, that's the only Skynyrd that matters. Like the modern stuff that they've put out is really good. I mean, the albums 30, the album Cycle, and Gods and Guns are really good albums, and The Last Rebel is actually a really, really good, like one of my favorite Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. But I mean, when you look back at everything they did, I mean, they wrote Freebird, Sweet Home Alabama, Simple Man, Tuesday's Gone, Call Me the Breeze. You know, I could sit here and go on and on and on and on forever because I know lots of Skynyrd songs. Like, I think it would just be cool to see the band exist and still have that kind of direction. Because, you know, nowadays they're, for lack of a better term, they're a lot heavier in a way. It's, you know, it hits you a little bit harder, whereas back then it was true, like, Southern rock.
Yeah.
Which Southern rock was awesome, which now they're a little bit more hard rock with a slight Southern flair. Like, classic Skynyrd would just be amazing, because they just had it. You know what I mean? Every Skynyrd album pre the plane crash is amazing, whereas, I mean, almost honestly, a lot of I think all four albums they put out since are almost kind of forgettable. So old Skynyrd would be like, if that band could somehow magically come back, I'd go in a time machine, that's where I'd go. Because that would just be amazing to see live. So
my number one is actually Kid Rock's Balls. I wish they would get back together because he's a pussy now. I just thought
that is totally true.
My number one is actually Rage Against the Machine. They're one of my... You know, you say when they're one of your favorite bands, I would put them in my top 20. I don't know about top 10, but even 20 of your favorite bands is still pretty damn good, considering how many bands are out there, how many bands you've ever listened to. Rage, he's top 15. They're such a good band, and like Keith said, you know, you can try to copy them, but you'll never be Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine is the only Rage Against the Machine. And I remember a little while back reading about it, and kind of like Keith said, they only get together once in a while to play like you know,
like a surprise show.
Yeah, like a couple of the, what was it, political conventions, and like protest outside, and you know, and occasionally they'll be on like a giant festival or they're on a big stage. Like there's just no way, and it really sucks because they're a band that you would want to see like 2 feet in front of you and stuff. And it's kind of weird how, you know, they you know, their I don't want to say morals, but what they kind of promote. You feel like they'd be one of those bands that would still be out there today. You know, there's bands that are still out there today, like the Butthole Surfers. Like they're still out playing shows today, and the Circle Jerks, and well, I don't know, were they on hiatus? I don't know, but a lot of bands are old and they're still around playing, you know, just shows. They'll be right in front of you. And Rage Against the Machine, they'll play on these big stages, and you know they you know, it just seems so, I don't know. That bothers me about them. I really want Rage Against the Machine to come around and just play something cool in my lifetime, so I can not only see them, but see them how it really should be. And I remember reading a little while back that Tom said, you know, like, oh yeah, we only meet like once a year to discuss what the band's gonna do, and I don't know. It's just the music that they write, the style about them. It's so opposite of what they kind of are, you know. Where we'll play big show here, big show there. It's like just do like, you know, no barricade, like a basement show. Do like a house show or something.
That would be fun.
Yeah, exactly. That would be
Shit.
everyone's wet dream, but I don't know, they just don't.
Well, I have a surprise announcement. There's going to be a Rage Against the Machine show right here in my basement. It's going to happen. I got Tom Morella on speed dial. He's going to come, and then we're going to jam, and none of you are invited. I'm just joking.
Even Zach in the band. I mean, he has his own rap, metal style going on there, and you know, like, I don't know. No Shelter is one of my favorite songs ever. And then I know everyone likes Bulls on Parade, but that song is so good. And just imagine that, like, you know, 50 fat people just jumping up and down in your house.
50 Zacks here in Tyler's basement.
I mean, they're all just jumping up and down on a bouncy castle in your basement. You know, that would be great, but they just don't do that. Now, I'm just going off on a tangent. I'm complaining, but that's not how it should be. Especially a band like that. There's so much wet dream potential, but they never fulfill it. It's dry dreams. That's all they are. Wither away.
It's just dreams. Alright. My number one, I have Led Zeppelin. Again, this is one of the first, like, rock bands that my dad introduced me to growing up, along with,
You
like...
actually met him?
No. But alongside Boston and Foreigner and the Outlaws and the Eagles. And Led Zeppelin, yes, is incredibly talented and they wrote fantastic songs, but they were so musically diverse, I think. They didn't just kind of write in one style like a lot of modern bands do. Like, if you got like a deathcore band, or like, say, Amur, you know what you're going to get with every Amur song on every Amur album. You're going to get a lot of open notes. Whereas with Led Zeppelin, you knew you were going to get something different. Not just on every album, but almost every song was something a little bit different. And just the amount of skill and musicianship that band had. And, you know, this is back when bands actually kind of put thought into their lyrics. Unlike a lot of, you know, musicians, if you want to call them that today, like, you know, Ariana Grande, who probably doesn't even write her own music. Right, Sam?
I actually never heard that.
Good. You're just asking for trouble with that.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you know, just this, they wrote music in a time when you could put, you know, music was, you know, it was art, it was poetry, it was well written, well thought out, whereas a lot of songs now are about getting drunk or something. Who the hell knows? But just, again, with John Bonham gone, you know, I don't know what really the status of the other members of the band are currently, but I mean, Jason Bonham is himself an incredible drummer. So that would be really cool if you got all the, original lineup except for John Bonham, of course, to do a show with like Jason Bonham. That would be an incredible experience to see. But do like another what was it, like Celebration Day, I think in 2006 they did. They had this huge show. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that they could write pretty much whatever the hell they wanted, and it would sound good, just makes them such a unique band. And kind of wish they were still able to be around and making music.
And they're probably one of the sexiest bands of all time, too. Like, they're sexy.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make a case that they didn't really write a lot of stuff. Like, you ever watch them live, like Robert Plant will, like, go off and just make sounds.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, just make sounds.
The amount of talent just to be able to go off and make noises and make it sound good.
I mean, he has his solo project thing and everything now, but...
Led Zeppelin was a noisecore band.
But, not even talking songs like, that everyone knows, like Kashmir and...
Jimmy Page.
Fucking Dire Maker's not a pretty... It's unique and it's a good song.
Yeah, like Dire Maker's not really...
Stairway to Heaven.
Or,
no one knows that song.
The Ocean.
Brown.
The Ocean, or Houses of the Holy, or Battle of Evermore, Achilles' Last Stand.
Gallows Pole.
Yeah, so, like, there's just so many good songs that just are never played because everybody wants to hear Stairway.
You think Achilles' Last Stand was written about, like, his actual last stand in a battle, or, like, the last time he ever stood, because it was the silliest thing he's ever done.
Well, I mean, supposedly Battle of Evermore was inspired by Tolkien.
Dude, like half of their songs.
Misty Mountain Hop, obviously Tolkien.
Yeah.
And
That's
possibly
from they ripped
what
off
is-
Kirby.
Ramble On is possibly inspired by The Hobbit.
Tyler, what's your number one?
My number one is motherfucking Nirvana.
I know that
Just kidding. No, I'm fucking serious. I wish Kurt Cobain was still around. I wish he
I wish you would have said no.
was making incredible music. I wish he never would have
No,
brought that
dude, it
shot.
was Courtney Love, man. Haven't you ever read the Wikipedia page?
God damn.
I mean, you're not a Nirvana fan unless you read the Wikipedia page.
Jesus.
Yeah. No, my number one is Pantera. Pantera, I'm talking like Pantera with Phil Anselmo, not early power metal Pantera. Pantera is just... It's hard to describe this band because, I mean, you listen to them, at least every time I listen to them, you just get like fucking fired up. It's just because their energy was captured on record so well. And this band just completely changed metal forever, in my opinion. They paved the way for a lot of things and a lot of, why metal is what it is today and certain styles. I mean, I go back and listen to Pantera, and they're seriously one of the heaviest, most disgusting fucking bands. I mean, a lot of, like, and I think Far Beyond Driven is one of the heaviest fucking albums I've ever heard in my life. It's not my favorite Pantera album, but, that album is heavy. And the thing, too, with Pantera is kind of every album was a little bit different. You have Cowboys from Hell, which, Phil Anselmo's going up here with his vocals, and he's doing this and that. And, yeah, and like that was the golden time for him, in my opinion. Just in terms of variety in his voice, and then you get the Vulgar Display of Power, which is just fucking kicks your ass the whole time.
Vulgar Display of Power.
What?
It's a vulgar display.
It is. It really
Much
is.
Brutes on that album?
It is. It's pretty brutes, man. I mean, and you take the song Walk, for example. Walk has one of the most simple, easy to learn guitar riffs that anybody can fucking learn.
But it
Pick
gets you
up a
fired
guitar. But it's just, that song has so much fucking anger in it. It's just like, yes. And to me, Pantera's songwriting is just almost unmatched. And, Dimebag Darrell's guitar playing, it has been well documented what he did for guitar playing in metal in general. And, I mean, still, some of his solos just get me, like, holy shit. And every time I listen to the end of, I think it's, I'm a little bit blanking on it. I think it's Tens off of, I know it's off the Great Southern Trendkill. I think it's called Tens. Or no, Floods, sorry. What am I saying? Tens is a good song. Floods is the one I'm thinking of. Like, the ending of that is just so moving. And it's like, dude, yes. And even their final album, Reinventing the Steel, isn't bad. But, I mean, Pantera, there's no band that is ever going to be like Pantera. I mean, I would like them to get back together, of course, and do something. But Phil Anselmo just doesn't sound the same anymore. He kind of sounds like shit anymore. And it just wouldn't sound right. I just wish I could go back in time and just see Pantera live. I feel seeing them live back in the early 90s or something in a small venue with like a fucking 500 people, I would feel like I'm gonna die. I mean, they're a fucking amazing band. And yeah. I mean, they could get fucking Richard Fisher on vocals. That would sound fantastic.
And like, even as like,
it'd be good.
Sort of kind of annoying, but like, what do you call that? I'm blanking on the word. Like someone's signature, like in a way, a signature thing. Like like the end of Cemetery Gates where he hits those like really high dime bag, but hit those like really high
dive bombs.
Yeah, and like just those.
Yeah.
They have signature things.
Exactly, and like the solo in Walk, where he does that thing. It's like do 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 do. It's like, who the fuck would think of that to just go like this on your guitar? Like, this is fucking sick. Whatever. These are our fucking top 5 bands that we wish were still making music in one way, shape, or fucking form.
Yeah.
Let us know your favorites.
As always, like and subscribe.
Always like, subscribe.
Always.
Dude,
and always blaze.
give us a comment. It helps us out.
Yeah.